Welcome everyone to another learning session. Today we are going to learn about Agile. Before we learn about Agile, we will quickly see into what was there before Agile, which was called as the waterfall model. We will see how Agile tries to solve the problems that were associated with the waterfall model. We will then try to understand Agile from something called as the four values of Agile from the Agile Manifesto. And then we will try to understand Agile from the 12 principles, also based on the Agile Manifesto, and which is more of a descriptive guideline that can help us follow the values in the Agile Manifesto in a more real and practical way. So once you go through the Agile values and the Agile principles, then you should have a clear understanding of what Agile is and how you can implement Agile in your real world projects. So without wasting time, let us get started with Agile. So this is my ID from Agile India Conference 2014, one of the first conferences in which I talked about Agile. But later, I got the opportunity to talk in many conferences, many meetups about Agile and a lot of related technologies. Before Agile, we had the waterfall model. Even I started my career working with the waterfall model. So you can see this waterfall here, right? So water just goes in one direction. It does not come back. So if it needs to come back, it follows a different process. So similarly, in a waterfall model, we go through each phase of software development lifecycle once without going back. And if you need to go back, then there is a higher cost. And what are these phases? Defining requirements, analysis, design, build, test, and delivering. So what is value to a customer? It is a working software, right? In the waterfall model, this value or the working software is delivered only in the end, maybe after months or years. Changes after delivery requires and additional cost. And many things could change in a competitive market, right? At that particular point of time, your competition was also less. But now with cloud and DevOps and all, if you have an idea, you can get to market very fast. Earlier, before cloud, you have to invest a lot to actually deliver a product as a service online. But with cloud and pay-as-you-go models, the capital expenditure or initial investment is much less. So anyone can actually go live with their product in just a few weeks or even few days. So the competition is much more than it was there before. Some of the major problems with the waterfall model, it is hard to accurately define all requirements upfront, and these requirements can change over time. By delivering value, example working software only in the end, maybe after months or years, the customer could be well behind the competitors in a highly competitive market. Earlier, market was not as competitive as today, but today market is very competitive. And if you take months or years to bring your product out, somebody would have already come and then captured that market. So delivering value faster is very important. The agile approach versus waterfall approach. In waterfall, we go through the SDLC phases once and the value is delivered only in the end. SDLC stands for Software Development Lifecycle. In Agile, we do short-term iterations of 1 to 4 weeks and each iteration ends with a tested working code. Product is created incrementally and value is delivered early and continuously. Iterations are something that repeats again and again, right? So if you say 1 week iteration, it will be repeating weekly. If you say 2 weeks iteration, it will be repeating every 2 weeks. So in each of these iteration, you will be implementing something that customers can actually use. And it is not a demo product or anything. It will be actual working features. So that means there is something for customers to start using. So when they start using, they might get more ideas about more features, or they may get a feeling that, okay, this is not going in the right direction, or they can say that, okay, this feature is not coming out in the way I expected. But imagine all these things happening at the end of the whole big product life cycle. It will be very difficult to change. Waterfall was not very friendly with the changes, and especially after the development phase start, changes required change requests and a lot of additional costs. Agile is focused on short-term outcomes and are open to changes. Agile emphasizes the constantly adaptive planning and early delivery with continual improvement. So it is not like you planned something and then you are not going to change at all. So you have to adapt to how customers are responding and then change your plan also accordingly. Waterfall follows a process-oriented approach, whereas Agile follows a people-oriented approach. So with waterfall, processes were important. So if you define something, it is very difficult to change. But people at that particular point of time believed that was good for having a product without bugs. But now that will not work. If you have a product without bugs, without any customers or users, what is the use? Agile follows a more people-oriented approach. They are not stuck on processes. They consider people and then they make exceptions for people. So let us try to understand Agile with the Agile values. Agile development aligns with the 4 values outlined in the Agile Manifesto. Value number 1, individuals and interactions over processes and tools. It doesn't mean we don't need processes and tools. However, we always need a human first approach and should give priority to individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Instead of using tools as a replacement for actual communication, such as using only emails for communication without actual face-to-face interaction, make use of those processes and tools to make your interactions with individuals better. And some of the examples for tools and processes that can enhance outcomes. Physical tools such as whiteboards, index cards, and sticky notes can help in visualizing the project flow and activities easily. So it is always good to see something, right? Rather than read through a lot of text and all those things. A picture can speak 1,000 words, right? Project management tools such as Kanban boards help in planning, monitoring, and visualization. Screen recording tools help in recording bugs, building walkthroughs, and demonstrations. So rather than say that, okay, I found this bug and these are the steps. Imagine if you have recorded that, it will be much easier for the person to understand, right? Value number 2, working software over comprehensive documentation. This doesn't mean documentation is not needed, but rather than have all the documentation first for reviews and then work on software, build working software in iterations along with just enough documentation to support those working software versions. So rather than have documentation for the whole project, so just have documentation for whatever you are planning to do in the current iteration or next iteration. So that way you can spend more time in actually doing something that is of value to the customer. And what if you spend all the time in documentation and later customer does not want that feature? All those time spent in documentation is wasted, right? So spending more time on actual product development and giving value to customers allow customers to give better feedback and allows teams to make changes as needed with less rework. And value number 3, customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Contract negotiations should not be the only type of interactions that should happen between the development team and the customers. Every discussion between a customer and development team doesn't need to go through contract negotiations also. Both customers and the development team should work together continuously, with development team delivering continuous value to customers and customers providing continuous feedback to the development team. Through this, we can improve the quality of our product. Value number 4, responding to change over following a plan. This doesn't mean we don't need a plan, but the development teams should be flexible enough to accommodate changes to the plans, and that too with less process burdens compared to the traditional waterfall model. Traditional waterfall model frees requirement before development and allowed changes only through strict and formal change requests. Rather than planning everything in detail, have a high-level plan for the complete project and create detailed low-level plan only for the work you are going to do immediately. Going to do immediately means in the upcoming iterations. So what are the 4 values that are outlined in the Agile Manifesto? 1, individuals and interactions over processes and tools. 2, working software over comprehensive documentation. 3, customer collaboration over contract negotiation. 4, responding to change over following a plan. Let us try to understand Agile more with Agile principles. Values in Agile Manifesto can be better understood and put into practice using the 12 Agile principles. The 12 principles of Agile development are descriptive guiding practices that help individuals or teams in following the Agile values in their projects. We saw 4 values, right? So those 4 values are the core of what Agile is. It is the heart of Agile. These 12 principles make it easier for us to understand and then implement those things in our teams. Agile principle number 1, our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. Customers will be happy if we deliver valuable software faster and regularly through iterations instead of delivering once in the end, as was happening with the waterfall model. So, what is the highlight here? Early and continuous delivery of valuable software rather than giving the product at the end of the 3 months or 6 months or n number of years. You give it as early as possible. May not be all features, but whatever you can provide early and also continuously. It is not just after first week you delivered something and then you deliver the next set of features after a few months. You have to deliver it early and also you have to deliver it continuously. It is not some documentation or design that you have to deliver, or not even a demo project, but valuable software, something that customers can use. If you are doing some other work than developing software, these things are still relevant. For example, you may be preparing quizzes and planning to upload it into a portal for end users. If you are refining those quizzes and making them perfect and then plan to upload at a later point of time, you are not giving value to the end users or customers, right? But if you refine some of it and then upload, and you refine some more and then upload, what is advantage there? While you are refining and uploading the second set, your customers can work on the first set, right? So they can practice it and then maybe they will tell, okay, questions of this kind are difficult, can you make it in this particular format? They can also give suggestions for you. So always focus on delivering valuable software or something of value to end users or customers early and continuously. Agile principle number 2: welcome changing requirements even late in development. Agile processes harness change for the customer's competitive advantage. In business, competitive advantage is an attribute that allows an organization to outperform its competitors by producing products or providing services more efficiently than a competitor, which will eventually lead to greater profits. To get the competitive advantage, you need to have faster time to market, a lot of experimentation, respond to changes in the competitive landscape quickly, and high service levels with stable, reliable, and secure services. Therefore, welcoming changing requirements are one of the important things needed for customers to get competitive advantage. So only if your customers get a competitive advantage, they will be successful. And only if your customers are successful, you will be successful. With Agile, you stand with the customer, and even if it is late in the development, you accept those changes and make those changes, and thus make the customers successful by getting a competitive advantage. Agile principle number 3: deliver working software frequently from a couple of weeks to a couple of months with a preference to a shorter time scale. So basically, it means you need to have shorter iterations. So the recommendation here is a couple of weeks to a couple of months. But in practice, most of the iterations these days, which are called as sprints, on average has a 2-week duration. By regularly delivering working software, we can get faster feedback from the customers. Working hands-on will also help customers to give suggestions to improve the product, which they may not have thought otherwise. Earlier, all those things were there just in their mind, right? But once you actually start exploring the product hands-on, even if it is having only lesser number of features, you will still have many suggestions and feedbacks to offer. Agile principle number 4: business people and developers must work together daily throughout the project. By encouraging developers and customers to collaborate on a regular basis can help developers get a better picture of what they are developing from the actual users who will be using it. While collaborating with customers, developers can also understand their actual problems and can suggest features in the product to fix those problems which they would not have thought about otherwise. What if you go and sit with these customers and work together at least for a few days? This will give you a better understanding of how your customer work, and this will also enable you to maybe suggest new features that customers may not have thought about. And eventually, if the customer is going ahead with that feature, you are only benefited, right? Because they will be paying you for your time. Agile principle number 5: build projects around motivated individuals, give them the environment and support they need, and trust them to get the job done. Management need to trust the developers and provide them enough space and freedom to innovate. Developers should be rewarded for their innovations and not blamed for their mistakes or failures that may make while innovating. So if you want to try out something, you should have that environment and freedom to try it out. Motivated and cross-functional team members may provide solutions to problems in ways that management may not have thought about. In many cases, young and new engineers in a company can provide a lot of valuable feedback and suggestions to the management, because if you are already part of the system for long, you may not be thinking differently. Agile principle number 6. The most efficient and effective method for conveying information to and within a development team is face-to-face conversation. Face-to-face conversation should be encouraged as much as possible instead of using tools as a replacement for actual communication, such as using only emails for communication without actual face-to-face conversations. I have seen examples where people just sitting next to each other communicate through emails in companies. Maybe it is needed for some documentation purposes and for some proof, but you should also have face-to-face conversation. Maybe you can first have that conversation with that person and then send a mail as discussed just for the proof. Or maybe you can send a mail and then go and have a face-to-face communication and say, okay, I have just sent a mail. So this is what I want. I have explained it more in the mail. If you have any doubts, let us talk. So these actions will make sure they will actually consider your request seriously. Even when you are working from home, come on video, see each other, and then talk. So that will improve the relationship between those two people. So if it is a team, that will improve the relationship within that team. Agile principle number 7. Working software is the primary measure of progress. Working software is what creates the most value for customers. So progress should be measured in terms of working software and not based on how much analysis or design was done. I still remember from my waterfall days, if customer asks how much of the work is done, you may say, okay, 10% or 20% or 30% or 40%. This is based on if analysis is completed, then it is some percentage. If design is also completed, it is some percentage. Agile suggests that your measure of progress should be based on working software. How much you could actually deliver, how much of the features your customers can actually use hands-on. With the quiz example we discussed earlier, how much questions are actually available to customers to practice. Agile principle number 8. Agile processes promote sustainable development. The sponsors, developers, and users should be able to maintain a constant pace indefinitely. Sustainable development means developers and stakeholders should be able to always work together at a constant pace without getting exhausted or frustrated by working extra hours regularly. So if you have something to do for a week and then every week you do not complete it on time, and then finally people have to work extra hours on weekends or evenings or nights apart from their regular working hours, then you will need to seriously think what is going wrong. If the engineers are exhausted and frustrated because of lack of planning or because of overcommitting, then they may not deliver a good product. You should effectively make use of the framework such as Scrum and all to make sure you are also improving from those things. And there are capacity planning and other things that can help in doing that. Agile principle number 9. Continuous attention to technical excellence and good design enhances agility. What do you mean by agility? It is how flexible we are and how easy we can adapt to changes, right? We saw agility in cloud computing 101, right? We should focus on quality and maintainability of our application code and design. This will allow agile teams to work on new features and even enhancements in the future with ease. So here, quality and maintainability of our application code and design is the focus. If you write bad code that is not maintainable, after some time, it will be very difficult to make changes. Agile principle number 10, simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done, is essential. We should keep our applications simple with features that customers really care about and not add features that will only add maintenance overheads. So not doing something is also an agile principle here. So you can also maximize the amount of work not done. The work that do not create value is a waste as per the lean principles. We will learn about lean later in agile and lean for DevOps discussions. Agile is asking us to focus on not doing work that doesn't have to be done, as it will not create value to the customer. Agile principle number 11. The best architectures, requirements, and designs emerge from self-organizing teams. So your team should have a mix of people. There are two team structures. Horizontal team structures divide teams according to the software architecture tiers. What are the software architecture tiers? UI, middleware, data, etc. Right? So there will be a team for UI, there will be a team for middleware, there will be a team for data, there will be a team for ops. Vertical teams span the architecture tier and are aligned with the product outcomes and will have people from different roles. Example, team with UI, middleware, data, and ops members. Vertical teams have been shown to provide stronger outcomes in agile projects, as you will have people with all the required skills within the team and you will not have to find people from other teams to get the work done. Vertical teams are the recommended team structure in DevOps. Agile principle number 12. At regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become more effective, then tunes and adjusts its behavior accordingly. Not all practices and processes will work for all teams. Teams should hence reflect regularly and adjust the processes and practices as needed. Certain things will work with certain teams, certain things may not work with certain teams. And we should be open to change, not just for customer requirements, but we should be also open for processes and practices that are followed by the team. And when we discuss about the agile frameworks such as Scrum and all, we will see that there are meetings such as retrospective meetings and all that happen at the end of an iteration or sprint, where we discuss, okay, what all things went well in this iteration, what all things did not go good in this iteration, how we can become better in the next iteration, and so on. So let us summarize the 12 principles that we discussed. 1. Satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. 2. Welcome changing requirements. 3. Deliver working software frequently. 4. Work together throughout the project, means work together with the customer throughout the project. 5. Build projects around motivated individuals. 6. Use face-to-face conversation. 7. Measure progress through working software. 8. Agile processes should promote sustainable development. 9. Continuous attention to technical excellence and good design. 10. Simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done. 11. Use self-organizing teams. 12. Reflect on how to become more effective and adaptive. And some best practices for mentoring team members on agile practices. Team members must learn as they work and acquire skills from each other. Many teams hire external agile coaches or mentors. Agile coaches have teaching and mentoring skills. Agile coaches tend to be both trainers and consultants. Some coaches are also technical experts. Some coaches are focused on agile process only. So assignment number 1, go through the 12 agile principles again and suggest practices that could be implemented in your teams. Important notes. If you don't have a proper team currently, think about a team that you worked in the past or use your imagination to become part of an imaginary team. You may read or research more on the agile values and the agile principles. You may do it alone or as a group. Hope you all learned something new today. Let us all learn together and grow together. Bye bye for now and see you all in next class.